8 years ago, I quit my job as partner in a consulting company. One evening, I attended a networking event, and I met a former client of mine. And he asked me, "Okay, Michèle, what are you going to do next? What's your new challenge? What's next in line for you?" And I said, "Well, I have a new mission. My mission is to make companies better balanced, make them gender balanced, make them more inclusive, make them more diverse." And he looked at me and he said, "I'm surprised that you of all people would go into this, doing things for women." So I asked him, "Why are you surprised?" And he said, "Well, I just kind of always saw you more as a man in women's clothes." Now this came as a shock to me. And it was confusing as well, because even though it felt like an insult, I'm pretty sure that he meant it as a compliment. But of course, I realized later that he was right to a certain extent. I had adopted a masculine style. And I was not the only one. A lot of women do the same. We adopt a masculine leadership style. We follow a masculine framework. So if we want to address gender balance, we need to look beyond gender. We need to look at masculine and feminine qualities. We desperately, urgently need companies to become more inclusive, to embrace diversity, to have different types of talent, different points of view. This is what we need. But we need balanced leaders to build these organizations. Balanced leaders who can draw on their masculine and feminine qualities. Now, today I'm going to share with you 3 conditions for creating a balanced corporate culture and also for integrating the masculine and feminine within yourself. The first condition is recognize that masculine and feminine are present within every individual. When I talk about masculine and feminine, I'm not talking about men or women. The masculine and feminine are present within us all. It's what we are made of. Our masculine energy is the energy that allows us to go out there, push boundaries, take initiative, challenge, take risks. It's our dragon-slaying warrior energy. We have a goal, we have a focus, we're going to get it. No matter what happens, we are going to reach that goal. This is our masculine energy. Masculine energy gets insight from objective analysis, from linear thinking, cause and effect relationships. But our masculine energy also allows us to bring structure. It is an energy that differentiates between things. It allows us to create order, rules and regulations. The feminine energy, on the other hand, is completely different. The feminine energy is the one that allows us to connect with people. We care, we have patience, we accept ourselves, we accept others. The feminine energy looks for a holistic view instead of focus. The feminine energy looks for the meaning of things. Why are we doing all this? The feminine energy gets insight not from objective analysis, but from experience, from intuitive feeling. And finally, the feminine energy is the one that allows us to deal with change and transformation. It's very much directed towards growth and development, and change and transformation are inherent to growth and development. So as an individual, we have both, and if we use both, they create this flow in our lives, a vital flow that we need, a dance even that we need between the masculine and the feminine. So it's not always that easy to integrate both, especially in a corporate environment. And this brings me to my second condition. And the second condition is to accept that the feminine has been and still is undervalued. When I work with teams in companies, men and women, and I ask them, tell me what you think there is too much of today in your company or your organization. What is there too much of? I did this across industries, different types of companies, and more than 80%, 80, more than 80% of what there is too much of is in the masculine qualities. More than 70% of what is missing is in the feminine qualities. So what happens when the feminine is not valued? You get a corporate culture that is predominantly a masculine corporate culture. How can you recognize this culture? It's an organization that is very much driven by short-term goals, very much into the action, do, don't reflect. Built up of little kingdoms with kings and queens at the top, not communicating, competing with each other, not sharing information. Leadership is top-down, directive, no coaching, no room for feelings in the organization. This is how you recognize a masculine corporate culture. Most probably, you need, in order to get ahead, to advance in this type of culture, you need a masculine style of communication. You have to appear confident and strong at all times. You speak instead of listening. You make yourself visible, you make yourself heard. That's how you get ahead in a masculine corporate environment. Now, predominantly and unbalanced masculine corporate cultures have two big problems. The first one is that they have a risk of falling into their pitfall. Notice when I speak about masculine and feminine, I speak about qualities. They're all qualities. There's no good or bad, they're all qualities. But if you have too much of a quality, it becomes a pitfall. Taking risks is a good masculine quality. If you have too much of it, if you don't counterbalance it, you fall into your pitfall, you become reckless. Having a good focus is a masculine quality. If you have too much of it, you become narrow-minded. There's no counterbalance. Wanting to win, to compete, is a masculine quality. If you have too much of it, if it's not balanced, then you trigger unethical behavior to want to win at any cost. So pitfalls is a big problem. Second problem is masculine corporate cultures are not by default inclusive. Rather, they are exclusive. People who are different, who do not fit the mold, are not valued. They are not valued, they are not heard. So this is what happens in a masculine corporate culture. When the feminine is not valued, it is not integrated. When it is not integrated, it is projected on someone else. So what happens in these companies is the feminine is projected on one or a few women. You will find a few women who reach the top levels in the organization, but they will be the one in charge of HR or another supportive role, because women are better with people. So the feminine is projected on women. What happens in these organizations? Women remain powerless because that quality is in fact not truly valued within the organization. So we need balanced leaders who are able to balance the masculine and the feminine. Carl Gustav Jung already said, the personal development of the human being depends on the level of integration of the masculine and the feminine pole. And this brings me to my third condition, to what is needed to become more balanced as an individual and in your company. The third condition is to find the courage to integrate the feminine within. It does take courage. It's not so easy. And it's not so easy, I find, because it can conflict with our gender identity. What it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. When I work in teams with men and women, and I have them do a self-assessment on personal balance, masculine, feminine qualities, I sometimes have men who step up to me and who say, Michèle, look here, I have a lot of feminine qualities here, and in these dimensions, I really tend towards the feminine. Am I still okay? Is this okay? Yes, it's okay. Another example is a male CEO I spoke with. He read my book, The Balanced Leader. He was very much inspired. He came to talk to me and said, I really recognize myself. I have a lot of feminine qualities. And I can say this now comfortably because I'm the CEO. I'm over 50. I have arrived. It would have been far more difficult for me to say this when I was in my 30s, still competing to get to the top. So it takes some courage to integrate your feminine source, your feminine qualities, and to use them and show them. For women as well, for women, it can conflict with the concept of what it means to be successful professionally. If I look at myself, there is one myth I had to destroy in order to be able to integrate my feminine source. One myth, my favorite myth, the myth of the strong woman. The strong woman, she was my role model. She was my favorite one. Always in charge, never show weakness, always be on top of things, high performer, high achiever, don't show any weakness, take the lead, don't ask for help, especially don't accept help. This was my favorite one, and I had to say goodbye to her. And one of the things I learned, for instance, was that leading and following, 2 dimensions, leading in the masculine, following in the feminine. Following is a beautiful feminine quality, but I had to learn how to follow. The first lesson I got was when I was breastfeeding my firstborn. There was no way of telling when this baby was going to be hungry. No way. This was very frustrating as a young mother. So what did I do? I took notes every hour, every day. I took notes for a week. After a week, I made a chart. I made a graph trying to predict the baby's feeding rhythm for the next week. I know it sounds crazy, right? I failed miserably. Of course, I failed. I had to let it go. Let go. Don't take control. There was no control. I had to follow. A second lesson I got was when I was studying and practicing and training to be a professional coach. As a great coach, you cannot walk in front of the coachee. They decide on what they do next, on the rhythm, the tempo they choose in their development. So following is something I had to learn, and this is also why I started dancing the tango, because I wanted to learn to become a better follower. Now, how can we inspire each other to integrate the masculine and feminine? How can we do that? You know, I started my career in advertising, so a first reflection of me would be, let's make a great advertising campaign. Let's shout from the rooftops how important this is, how good it is to have this balance in yourself, in your team, in your company. Let's just make people aware, shout. This is, again, the masculine approach. Today, I'm not so sure. Now, instead of shouting, I tend to listen. I have an inner dialogue. I listen to myself. I feel the feminine when I listen, when I pay attention, when I connect to the world and to people through my heart. I feel it. I feel its joy, its playfulness, its spontaneity, its power to transform. I feel all that. But I also feel its neglect and its pain. So if we embrace that, all of us, the masculine and the feminine, there's a tremendous game to be had. You create this vital flow in life, this dance of life. And this is what it's all about. And if there is one thing that I want you to remember from my talk today, is that if we want to achieve gender balance, we have to look beyond gender. We have to look at masculine and feminine qualities, and we need balanced leaders who have the courage to use and to develop and to show both their masculine and feminine qualities. Because when masculine and feminine combine, life flows. Thank you.